Good evening, everyone. It's 5:01 p.m. I'll call this meeting Brighton Council to order. And as we begin, I'll ask everyone to please silence cell phones and other electronic devices. Of course, we know how to do this via procedure by law. The municipality of Brighton Council respectfully acknowledges that we are meeting on the shared treaty and traditional territories of the Mississauga, also known as the Mississauga Anishinaabe, and the Williams Treaties First Nations. The lands and waters that make up our municipality have been and continue to be the collective responsibility of these Indigenous communities who have been their stewards and caretakers for generations. We recognize that this area is home to many Indigenous peoples from across the region and Canada. We honor their enduring connection to this land and their significant contributions to its history and culture. As we gather to make important decisions for our community, let us also reflect on our shared responsibility to foster relationships built on mutual respect and understanding, and to work together towards creating a more just and equitable society for all. I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that Council approve the May 5th, 2025 Council agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. So I do have a Horizon report. I don't have a to go into. I have two Horizon reports. Sure.
We're just approving the closed meeting portion of the agenda, or are we approving the complete agenda for tonight?
The entire agenda.
The entire agenda.
Go ahead. Are you asking about the item that we talked about before? That will happen when we chat about the minutes later on, when we come back into open session. Yeah. So we're just we're just waiting for the motion to go into closed session. There were two Horizon reports. Yeah, sure. Members of council, having any declarations of pecuniary interest, and if so, please state the general nature thereof. And there are none noted. So I'll need a motion that council resolve itself into closed session May 5th, 2025 at 5:04 p.m. pursuant to the Ontario Municipal Act, R.S.O 2001 as amended, subsection 239(2)B. Personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal local board employees, lease termination notice, proposed or pending acquisition or disposition. C, proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipal local board, industrial park proposed land sale, and proposed purchase of land. And K, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on behalf of the municipal local board position recruitment. Sir Mover, Councillor Wheeldon, second. Councillor Wright, is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. We'll give staff a moment to transition to the Yeah, so we'll give staff a moment to revert back to the open. Then I will read the motion. What's that? So we shouldn't read the Rise and report until 6:30. Very well, thank you. So we are recessed until 6:29-ish.
Looking forward to seeing.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 6:30, so I will call this meeting back to order. Noting that we met in closed session or started our meeting at 5 o'clock to meet in a closed session. I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that Council rise and report from closed session May 5th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. Council met in closed session to consider matters that is permitted to do so under the Municipal Act and as listed on today's council agenda and the closed session resolution. The following items were considered during the closed session and may require motions as necessary. The first was the approval of the closed session meeting minutes of April 28th, and a procedural motion to adopt the minutes was voted on in closed session, and therefore remains nothing yet else to be done in the public session. Item 1 in our closed session was a personal matter about an identifiable individual, including municipal local board employees, a termination notice. The second item was a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, industrial park proposed land sale, and a proposed purchase of land. And item 3 was a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on behalf of the municipality or local board, specifically physician recruitment. And I do have motions in front of me to receive confidential items from the closed session. I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wright. The council approved the confidential directions given to staff in closed session May 5th, 2026. Is there any discussion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. And a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wright, that council received privileged communication regarding termination of lease agreement in closed session May 5th, 2025. Is there any discussion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. That brings us to announcements. Are there any announcements? I know there's announcements this evening. I have about 7, and I'm going to tick off the ones you guys do in advance of my getting there. So who wants to go first? Councillor Rowley.
I don't need to go first, but I have 3 also, so.
Why don't you do one? The one that's most important to you.
Well, they're all important to me. It's all
I
about
know.
Brighton. Anyway, I will do one. This one is a little bit solemn, so I'll try to hold back the tears. Thank you, Mayor, for the supporting the raising of the flag of the Netherlands today on this 80th anniversary of their liberation. I have a couple of comments. These are not comments that I've drafted, but I was given these from someone special. For those that might not be aware, Canadian forces were assigned the task of liberating Holland from the Nazi occupation in the final months of World War II. They fought alongside British and American troops from September 1944 to May 1945. It has been noted that by April and May of 1945, 90% of our Canadian troops were on Dutch soil, and it was General Charles Foulkes, commander of the 1st Canadian Corps, that accepted the surrender of German forces in the Netherlands 80 years ago today. My father spoke nothing of his time in Holland during the war, but my mother shared an incredible story just a few years ago. She remembers the day that her town was liberated. She was 8 and remembers seeing the tanks rolling into their little town. Her parents gave her and her brother permission to join the celebrations. They ran across the fields to the roadside and watched in excitement as Canadian troops made their way into the town square. I'm sure that you've all heard stories of our soldiers giving children treats to celebrate joyous occasions. For my mother, it didn't matter that it wasn't sweets or chocolate. For her, the monumental symbol of freedom was a single slice of white bread, which she carried that piece of bread carefully back to home and split it with her parents. Never before that moment had she ever had white bread, and she still claims that never again has it ever tasted as sweet as it did on that day.
Thank you. I now know why there's 2 boxes of tissue up here. Thank you for that. Are there any other announcements? Go ahead, Councillor Butwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last week, Councillor Rowley and I attended OSM, which is the Ontario Small Urban Municipalities Conference up in Collingwood. A day and a half of speakers, really, with a little bit of socializing and trade showing. A couple of key takeaways that I have, and I made notes on my phone during the presentations. One theme that traversed everything was the economy. and our inability to rely on our longstanding trading partners, and to proceed with caution in whatever it is we do. Second takeaway was housing. Almost every single speaker spoke about housing and how dire it is. It seems to be on everybody's radar. There was a fantastic talk about cybersecurity for municipal governments. And I've got some notes on that I'm going to put together in an email for the CAO. And there was also a great panel discussion on BIAs from the partnership. The people on the panel were BIA members and municipal employees up in Collingwood, and they are actually on the verge of starting up a second BIA because of the success in the downtown cores growing and expanding, and the importance of formalizing the relationship, and how that allows each party to work in partnership and as allies. So those were a few takeaways that I had, and again, I'll put something together. It might be useful for somebody else, some resources.
Thank you for that. These conferences are sometimes very dry, but if we can take one or two things away, bring them back to the community, it's useful. So thank you for that. Appreciate that. Both Councillor Rowley and Councillor Butwell for attending. Go ahead.
And I'd also just like to add that seeing them with your colleague or listening with your colleague, we had some really interesting discussions during and afterwards. So we talked about maybe doing a few things through some notice of motion down the road, things to help our community, that we don't need to recreate something. It's already out there.
Exactly right. Thank you. Good for that. Any other announcements this evening? Councillor McCausland.
This weekend, it was the local pet pantry grand opening, and we saw lots of furry friends there. Nice to see them. I have a couple, if that's okay. Okay. The Citizen of the Year Award ceremony was great. Can't wait to see next year's turnout, since we had many more applicants put in for that. And then Dragon Boat registration is open, and they have free try it days, May 28th and May 31st.
Brilliant. And I will note that our Service Excellent Award winner, Wayne Jefferson, has joined us in the audience, which isn't unusual. Wayne's one of our usual suspects. Which means I broke my promise from Thursday when I promised he could sit and take a back seat again. But now, Wayne, now, starting now. Councillor Rowley, did you have another announcement?
I do. I'll make one short one. Yesterday, May 4th, was International Firefighters Day, and I believe we should acknowledge and thank our brave Brighton firefighters. Maybe the chief can carry that to your troops. Thank you for all that you do to protect us. It is not always an easy job, I'm sure. Thank you. Codrington will at some point be hosting another thank you dinner. So be serving up some more food for you, Chief.
Well done. Are there any other announcements? Yep.
I'll just keep going.
Just keep going.
Okay, so also today, I believe that we should take pause, not only as council, but as community, as this is National Day of Awareness for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, Girls, and I'm going to read this slow because there's lots of letters, 2SLGBTQQ1A+ people, also known as Red Dress Day.
Yeah, so the 2S refers to two-spirited Indigenous people. And a little statistic that Indigenous women and two-spirited persons are 60 times more likely to be murdered or go missing than any other demographic. So important that we recognize Red Dress Day and why we're doing it in terms of the missing Indigenous women and girls across Canada. Are there any other announcements? Thank you. Thank you. And are there any other announcements? Fishing opened up on the weekend, and I went down to Gosport and had a boo at the fishing derby, and lots of kids having a good time out on the bay. So it was nice to see. After the local pet pantry opening, Simply Life Homes had their open house on the weekend. Lots of contractors and constructors there, not a lot of locals, but it was nice to see them, shake their hand, and a promise to make a connection with our federal representatives because they're looking for some assistance in terms of building homes faster. And I think we have a government that might be able to help them out. On Friday, we raised the Falun Dafa flag. This is something we've been doing for the last 3 or 4 years. Falun Dafa is a worshipful organization that was forcefully removed from China back in the 90s. And so we raised the flag here in Brighton to remind ourselves that freedom to worship and freedom of belief is something we hold dear in the community. On Thursday, I had the pleasure as warden of opening the Northumberland Youth Leadership Conference. I had representation from all the secondary schools across Northumberland County, incredibly well attended. I couldn't stay, and I wish I had been able to stay and listen to the speaker and what they had to say, but it was a first time event here in Northumberland, and I'm hopeful that they will do it over and over again because it's good. Any opportunity to engage in the youth is a good opportunity, and it was nice to see it being so well attended. Last Monday, MP Phil Lawrence was re-elected to represent us in Parliament. With the assistance of Ms. Birch, we have sent letters of congratulations to MP Lawrence, new MP Millette in the Bay of Quinte as our neighbor, and to the new Prime Minister as well. And those are my announcements. Are there any others? And that's more than normal for those of you attending for the first time, just FYI. That brings us to the adoption of the minutes. I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wright, that Council adopt the April 22nd, 2025 Council meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? Councillor McCausland.
Thank you. And through you, I'd like to review and amend item 17.3 resolution COU-2025-187 of the April 22nd council meeting.
Councillor McCausland, that's the resolution with regard to waiving the fee for Trinity St. Andrews United Church?
Correct.
Thank you. For council's edification, I am a member of the church council at Trinity St. Andrews United Church, and therefore will be in conflict of interest with regard to this discussion. So Madam Clerk, I'm turning the chair over to you to select someone to chair the meeting for this portion.
So I have a motion. If council would like to nominate a councillor as chair, I'd like to put the name forward.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Wilden if he's accepting.
Okay, so that is Councillor Emily Rowley. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Bobby Wright. That Councillor Wilden as chair for item 7.1 of the agenda. All in favor? And that's great.
All right. I have a motion before me. Moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Rowley. Whereas after receiving more information from staff regarding the request from Trinity St. Andrews United Church to waive a variance fee for a sign permit, now therefore council rescind resolution COU-2025-187 of the April 22nd, 2025 council meeting and support the request to waive the variance fee of $75 for the installation of an electronic sign. Is there any discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Councillor Wilden. I believe that at the last meeting, we didn't maybe have all of the information that we received later, that I believe the other two churches in town who also have electronic signs, and they had their fees waived. I believe the Legion did as well. So I believe that in all fairness, that we should do the same for Trinity St. Andrews.
Thank you, Councillor Rowley. Any further discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Botwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you to the rest of council. In general, I don't have any issue with waiving that fee. I would say that we don't intend to set precedent. It wasn't this council that waived those fees. We don't know what those fees were at the time, what the value was, and what the rationale was for doing so. Was it just because somebody decided to, or was a specific request made? It does beg to question that we will be asked to waive fees going forward. I think on almost everything, if we are going to continue down this road of waiving fees. So why necessarily have fees if we're going to just waive them?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Councillor Rowley.
I think maybe in this case as well, with specifically the electronic signs, with the fact that they are also good for clear messaging in times of emergencies or whatever else, that they share the messaging for all of the community. So that I kind of see that the benefit to that, and the fact that the organizations are willing to do that for us. I think that could be, I think that's kind of an untapped, whatever. I think it's a benefit to us all that we do that.
Go ahead, Councillor Butwell.
Thank you, Councillor Wielden. I don't, again, disagree with you. Will staff be putting something on paper that the messaging shall be shared in the instance of an emergency, or should we need it for public communication? Is that something that we might not want to formalize then?
If I recall, I do believe that it was in the request from Trinity St. Andrews, without kind of going back now exactly, but I do believe that it was part of their for their application, that they would do that for us as well. So I'm assuming that would almost be maybe like a contract, but maybe we should maybe formalize that a little bit better.
CAO, would you like to comment on that?
Through Mr. Chair to Council, we're happy to formalize at Council's direction. I'm not exactly sure what the wording was with the application and their commitment. I would think most of the organizations in town and churches and the Legion are happy to communicate information when we need them to. But if Council would feel better having something formalized, I'm happy to facilitate that.
Go ahead, Councillor Butwell.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. I think we've seen from this council that there's been a lot that's been done as general agreements in this community, and we have moved forward. And it's been a battle at times, but formalizing things in writing, that leaves a paper trail for future councils, tells them where to look for the information and why we made the decisions that we did. So I would like to formally request through, I suppose, a amendment to the motion that something be put in writing and come back for, or I suppose staff, you say CAO, you would be able to execute something.
Councillor McCausland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you. I'm just going back to the original, and it is in here that they will the signed community benefit in providing public information and community emergency alerts. They already have that in here. So I think it would, can we add it to that?
Councillor Butwell, response?
So Councillor McCausland, sorry, through you, Mr. Chair. I understand that it's in the request. It is about formalizing it and tying it to something specific.
Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Chair. Wondering if maybe we don't add it to this motion, but if we maybe do we direct or suggest to staff that they put something together for all of those who have electronic signs other than our own municipal buildings, that we put something together? Because now this will be 4, right? 3 churches and the Legion. So maybe we direct you to do that? I don't want to tell you what to do. I don't want to tell you what to do.
Through the Chair to Councillor Rowley, yeah, that's your job. If you want to finalize this motion and then do a subsequent motion to direct staff to come up with some sort of agreement that we can formalize with all of the recipients of waived fees, we certainly can do that.
I see Madam Clerk is writing. We'll keep going with this. Any further comments on this motion? Okay. All in favor? That's carried. Can I turn the chair back to you, sir?
Given that I have declared a conflict on the whole item, I'd ask that you read the original motion as amended. So cross out as presented and circle as amended. The one underneath.
Okay. I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wright. The council adopt the April 22nd, 2025 council meeting minutes as amended. Any discussion? Councillor Butwell.
Through you to the CAO, did you want that additional motion to be placed in after this one directly before we move out of the amendments or the minutes?
Through the chair to Councillor Butwell, I think that would be more procedurally appropriate to close
Separate it?
off the
Yeah.
minutes, and then that can be a new motion.
All right, thank you.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Are we going to deal with that other motion now, Madam Clerk, or shall I pass the chair back?
I think we can do that under unfinished business
All right, thank you.
instead.
Then the chair is yours, sir.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeldon. I have the chair. Just making a note on the agenda with regard to that next motion. And a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that council adopt the April 28th, 2025 special council meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. We have no statutory public meeting this evening. Which brings us to delegations and presentations. Council will hear 3 presentations this evening. Presenters have 15 minutes to provide council with their information. It is noted that language, content, and conduct must always remain respectful. Council will be provided with an opportunity to ask questions of clarification from the presentation representatives based on the information that they've presented. Council is reminded that this is not an opportunity to engage in debate with the presenters nor advance a public policy position. Presenters are reminded that council does not make decisions during the presentation portion of this evening's meeting. And the first presentation is mine. We are deeply grateful to 2 members of the public who acted as Good Samaritans on the day that the Chapel Street fire broke out. Joel Dempster and Matthew Schonauer, am I saying that right, Matthew? For their incredible bravery and selflessness in waking their neighbors after noticing that their house had become engulfed in flames. Their quick thinking and willingness to put others first exemplifies the very best of Brighton. And while we don't encourage people to run into burning buildings, we are certainly grateful that you put yourselves second to others. And your acts of courage like this are reminders of the importance of looking out for one another as good friends and neighbors do. But also, we remind everyone to be cautious when they see an engulfed fire, and please call 911. Thank you, Joel and Matthew, for your extraordinary actions. You have our deepest respect and appreciation, and if you would, gentlemen, join me up front, I would appreciate it very much. Our next presentation, again, thank you, gentlemen. It feels like we should go on and on because of what you've done. It's incredible when one acts selflessly in order to save the lives of people in a home. So I just thank you very much. No one was hurt as a result of your actions. So good work, and again, don't run into burning buildings, people. But well done, gentlemen. It's hard to give that message, right? It's a catch-22. Our next presentation comes from Doug Stevens, Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing Board Review. Doug, welcome as always. Sure, Doug, before you begin, I'll just say everybody is welcome to stay as long as they want, but no one needs to feel obligated to stay for the duration of the meeting. Thanks, Candace.
Well, thanks so much, Mayor and Council and staff, for having me on the agenda tonight. I always like to come and give an update on the work that we've done in this partnership. And Caroline, I guess you're doing slides for me. Is that correct? Okay, so you'll just be getting a lot of this. So let's do the first one. There we go. You know, I always start my presentations by talking about the regional partnership because we're nothing without our partners. And we love having Brighton be a part of the Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing Board. You know, you anchor us on the west side. We love having Napanee anchoring us on the east. City of Belleville, Quinte West, Mohawks, the Bay of Quinte in the center. And of course, that Quinte Home Builders Association, which supports part of the resident attraction portion. And, you know, we're stronger together. And I think there's maybe no better time to be talking about that than now, especially with everything going on. And so just can't thank the municipality enough for continuing to be a part of this partnership because it allows us to do what we do. Well, see, she's got to be looking at me all the time now. Yeah. Just very quickly, you know, I remind people often of our role. We're what's called a destination marketing and management organization. We try to get people here. We try to get tourists here. We try to get residents here. And then we hope that we can support businesses and organizations to make these communities flourish when those people come. It's a dual marketing mandate, as I mentioned. So there is tourism, but it's also that resident attraction piece. And a lot of that's, you know, you talk about housing, it is a hot topic. And a lot of the resident attraction work that we do is actually through employment attraction and through a website called workinquinte.ca, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. You got this down now, Caroline. We do that, you know, through the course of the year, working across a lot of different projects. It's stuff that you see every day, right? That most organizations are working with from the marketing perspective, but it's some of the stuff you'll never see. Maybe the programmatic advertising that we're doing, or trade shows that we're going to, or products that we're developing. This is the team right here. You know, I get to come and do the fun presentations. But I'm really fortunate to work with a team who's working very hard every day on behalf of this partnership. And so it's not just me doing this work. I work with great people every day, and I love that. And I always make a point of saying as well that, you know, this is my team, but without the Brighton team, without the work that Ben's doing, we can't do the work that we do. And he's not just a terrific hockey coach, folks. He is getting stuff done here, and I say to him often that I'm impressed with what he's able to do with the budget and the resources that he has here. And I think you around this council table have seen the amount of work that he's been able to do on behalf of this community. And I know it's been a huge help to have Caroline there as well, working toward multiple projects and taking a team approach. Of course, we're guided and governed by a board of directors. Emily Rowley now sitting on this board. Thanks so much to Ron Anderson for the time that he put into our board of directors as well. It's great to have you back. You know, these are the folks who are making the ultimate decisions. And so we thank them all the time for the work that they do. Next slide. Let's talk about funding. And through the course of last year, we had a little over $1 million in funding. So those communities and organizations I mentioned off the top, they're all contributing to our budget. We're working on their behalf. So you'll see now, again, some work that Ben Hagerman's been doing. You have a municipal accommodation tax. And so the municipality of Brighton is now at the table with two funding sources, similar to Quinte West and Belleville, who have enacted their MAT, established in 2019. And so you're providing funding from a per capita perspective. We take the 2021 census, $1.55 per person, and also your municipal accommodation tax. So in total, in the last fiscal year, your funding contribution to our organization was a little over $22,000. Now, in the grand scheme of things, that's about 2% of our budget. So we just need to keep that in mind as we move forward, right? We scale the work that we do and we take an equitable approach. You know, you take a look at the graph, and on the left, City of Belleville's map is north of $580,000. That's a lot of cash coming in from the City of Belleville. But at the same time, we want to make sure we're doing what we can to support this municipality. So let's talk about what we're doing to drive economic activity in this community. I'll talk in a few minutes about our own Bay of Quinte marketing campaigns, generating an estimated $3.79 million of spending in this community. I'll talk about our Golf in Ontario overnight package program. By the way, we are now the best golf destination in all of Ontario. We're outselling all other destinations in Ontario. Timber Ridge is a part of our overnight golf program, as is Black Bear Ridge, Trillium Wood, the Bay of Quinte. Of course, we have 14 courses in our Bay of Quinte region, but those are the tourism-driven courses. And we like to try and direct investment back into the community as well. So about 8% of the total funding that we received, a little over $1,800, directed back into the community through content and marketing. It's nice to see some overnight growth in this community as well. You know, you don't have hotels like some of our other community partners have. You have a lot of rental homes, and it's a growing market. But that's not the case across this entire province. So it's nice to see some modest growth there over the past year, a little over 1%. Daily revenues up for your stakeholders. So that's great. It means they can charge a little more to have people stay in here and put that back into the community. And I love this last point, average stay 2.8 days. You know, when I started in this job, average stay would always be stuck right around that 1.9 day mark, 2 day mark. So the fact that Brighton, through its short-term rentals, is seeing almost 3 days average stay, that's awesome work. Next slide. Our marketing campaigns are largely driven by programmatic advertising. So, you know, I've talked about this at council before, the ads that follow you around the internet. And we use software to create geofences of what we call conversion zones. So we can see if you interacted with our ads and then you went to Presqu'île or you came to downtown Brighton. And I know Ben's now using some of that technology in the marketing that he's doing himself. So we were pretty excited to see that over 42,000 physical entries happened by people interacting with our Bay of Quinte ads. And so when we estimate spending from that using a very modest number, it's almost $4 million, which is up over 10% from last year. I want to take you all the way to the bottom, and a new campaign that we did this year was called our Spending Spree campaign. And that was one where we were trying to drive day trip activity, specifically in the wintertime. And it was driven by video. Go next slide, like this one, take you right to the next slide, where we targeted it on Cobourg Port Hope, specifically hoping for them to come here and to see a video like this getting over 14,000 views. You know, it's over a day of watch time on this video of Jack talking about what he was doing in downtown Brighton. So this was a very successful campaign that we're going to emulate into the fall season as well. Next slide. Of course, we're trying to drive everything to our landing page, bayofquinte.ca, which we redid a couple of years ago. It's all driven by content. We're talking about Brighton. When we bring people to the website, we want to tell them those stories. Next one. You know, tell them about the products that you've got available. Next one. A big project over the past year was working on what we call our immigration portal. This is actually something that was provincially mandated. And it started as something that only included Belleville, Quinte West, Hastings County, and Prince Edward County. I don't know why, but the province left you folks out. And so when we redid this website, we said, well, we're partners with Brighton. We're putting them on this website. And so this is a marketing tool that we use to attract new Canadians to live in our communities, and something that will be generating a lot of content through various programs in 2025. We also, as I mentioned off the top, are working on this workinquinte.ca website. And so we just launched this 2 weeks ago, relaunched it rather. Again, this is a website that started with Belleville and Quinte West. They asked us if we would take it over, and so we incorporated Brighton, Napanee, and the Mohawks, the Bay of Quinte, into it. Next slide. So any Brighton employer can go on here, create a profile, post their jobs. We'll market their jobs for free. There's a back-end dashboard. I'm going to come, Ben's got me scheduled in to come and make a demo at the next Economic Development Committee meeting. Employers can bookmark job applicants. They can make notes about job applicants, communicate with them all from that back-end dashboard. Again, all for free. And job seekers can post a resume to the database or, of course, apply for jobs. But it's not just about the application process and the posting process. We're trying to do what we can to show off employers as well. So working with Ben, I think we shot 3 or 4 Brighton employers last year. We're going to do the same this year. And again, those photos are right back to you folks to be able to use, or those businesses to be able to use for their promotion as well. Of course, a lot of the work that we do is over digital media. We're now communicating with a network of over 72,000 followers across our social channels and our newsletter. And again, it's all content. It's content driven. We are getting engagement and following because we're telling interesting stories. Stories about events, stories about downtown. And that's the newsletter right there. And really driving video. And if there's advice that we can give to any small businesses out there, it's to integrate video into your marketing process. We just see so much more engagement on the video platforms now. 50 videos created in the last fiscal year. So if you can see over 34,000 interactions on those videos, that's terrific engagement. About 38 days of watch time on the videos that we put out there. So it's videos like these ones. So you can just roll through the next 3. Jack was our primary video guy, getting out there and telling stories every single week on different platforms with video. Next one. But it's not just us who tells the stories. Ultimately, we have to hire third parties as well. People know we're going to be biased. So part of what we do is hire, 10 to 12 writers to come to this region, talk about it either in written form, so blogs like this one, or in video, so getting downtown, getting outside, talking about Brighton. Next one. And ultimately, exploring not just the summer season, but all 4 seasons. Next. I hope folks have seen our discovery guide. We print 30,000 copies every year. We've got a few thousand copies left. We're actually going to be doing an insert with the Globe and Mail in 2 weeks in GTA and Ottawa in order to get those out ahead of the season. Brand new discovery guides arrive, I believe, later this week, and we'll get them out next week. And I mentioned our Golf in Ontario program, and actually go to the next one. This just launched today. This is a 2-page advertorial in Score Golf magazine, so distributed all across this province. And will be available digitally as well. We're actually doing a full-page takeover advertising with Score Golf in order to drive this. And again, Timber Ridge is a really important part of this overnight program. And we'll be working to integrate some of your short-term rentals into the program as well, now that the municipal accommodation tax has been enacted. Just as I finish up, I mentioned off the top, some of the things you don't see is, and this is Trevor Norris from our Bay Quinte team here, who works in destination development, is, kind of like Councillor Rowley and Councillor Butwell going to conferences. And Trevor goes to a lot of them through the course of the year. He's about to go to one next week called Venue Series, where he tries to bring in corporate travel. So he's going around trying to get travel operators to bring their business here throughout the year with multiple trips. We started the film office this year. So this is something brand new. We didn't ask for new money to do it. It's a partnership, including our Bay of Quinte partnership, as well as Hastings County and Prince Edward County. Council probably remembers that you approved the policies not too long ago. I'm pretty sure Brighton was the first one. Again, Ben Hagerman for the win. And this is something that we're going to grow in year 2. Year 1 was all about building a foundation. We got the policies in place. We got the partners in place. We got some funding in place. Now it's going to be about bringing people here to film and growing our film database, which is different from the photography and video that we do regularly, working with folks like Ben and Caroline to get out, shooting locations, shooting events. And then just quickly, one of the things that we started working on this past year, and we're going to ramp up this year, is just trying to increase the sustainability aspect of everything that we do. If we're working to bring people here, let's do it responsibly. So one of the programs that we're investing in this year is called Green Step. It's an environmental tourism certification program. And so we're working with a federal consultant group to bring that into the fold this year, ultimately to try and be more responsible to the environments that we're working in. So at the end of the day, though, it's really about generating economic activity in this community, working with you, working with your teams to do that, and having fun while we do it. Last slide. Happy to take any questions, and there's my contact information if anybody would like it. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. I'll open the floor to members of council with any questions of clarification on the presentation. Councillor Rowley.
I don't need any clarification. Doug always explains everything very well. But I do want to say, since you initially came to council a couple of terms ago, there was a little bit of skepticism as to how this would go. But I've certainly seen the benefits of what you and your team have done.
Oh, thanks.
For Brighton, for the DBIA as well here. You've supported us in many different opportunities, and I just thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Anyone else? Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate your presentation as always, Doug. You mentioned immigration, and I know immigration policies have changed significantly in the last couple of months. How has that impacted your work in this regard?
Yeah, so through the chair to Councillor Wheeldon, actually hasn't affected us much. So I'll be honest, the way we work with immigration marketing is something we call secondary migration. I don't know if that's an official term. We don't have the budget to market internationally outside of some United States. So what we focus on in driving new Canadians to move to this region is marketing specifically around the GTA or Ottawa, where most new Canadians are landing. What we found is a common narrative is that new Canadians will come to Canada. They'll generally move to Toronto because that's where the bulk of cultural groups are living. And then they'll find, okay, I love this country, but I don't really like this place and it's really expensive. And then that's when we hopefully kick in and we're feeding them some marketing and we're coming out at them with that messaging around quality of life, outdoors, waterfront, these sorts of amenities that we all know that we love. So it hasn't affected us much. Now, there is a caveat there. Of course, Loyalist College has been really our #1 immigration consultant, right, over the past about 8 years. And so they're going to see a big slowdown in what they are bringing in with international students starting this fall. And so, of course, there will be some effect on what we're seeing with respect to new Canadians staying in this community after they've moved here to become students. But I don't know what that'll look like just yet.
Thank you both. Anyone else? Mr. Stevenson, as always, it was a pleasure.
My pleasure as well. Thank you so much for your time.
I have a motion moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Rowley. The council received the presentation from Doug Stevenson, Bay of Quinte Regional Marketing Board Review. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you again, Doug. Our next presentation comes from Altaf Hussain, Consultant Project Lead, R.V. Anderson, with regard to an update on the Transportation Master Plan study. Mr. Hussain, welcome back to Brighton.
Thank you very much. Okay, bring closer. Thank you very much, Honorable Mayor and Council, providing this opportunity for in-person presentation. So TMP report is pretty big. We put together a very short presentation. We try to give highlights of the entire study, and the way we heard from Doug, great presentation. So it looks like town is already attracting lots of residents, visitors, and businesses in here, like employment. So I think we're on the right time that this study we completed. It will provide a lots of guidance in here. So we're going to flip the next page. So what is the TMP? It is a long-range planning document that provides directions and prioritization on transportation policy and infrastructure investments over next 20 to 25 years, right? So our framework to achieving key mobility objectives, such as connecting various land uses, fostering community adoption of active transportations, supporting Brighton small business community, and more. This is our living document that should be updated on a 5-year cycle basis. Yeah, next slide. So TMP is undertaken to because growth is expected in the urban area in the form of new residential units and new industry. And this growth will require integration with the existing transportation network and present the opportunity to provide kind of a base for the adoption of multimodal mobility. And again, this is a planning document that will help guide these facilities should incorporate the needs of all users, including requirement of accessibilities. That's the AODA requirements that's applicable in Ontario. Yes, next slide, please. So based on the growth in population and employment, we put together this problem and opportunities. So because the growth is approximately, Brighton is expecting a significant growth, about 40% in residential, and employment is 35% over next 25 years. To support this growth, enhancement to the existing transportation system will be required. Master plan outlines the directions for developing a balanced transportation system to address the future travel needs for both the residents and visitors. A balanced system includes both vehicular and non-vehicular travel modes, choices such as transit, R.O, cycling, and walking. Next slide, please. So this slide presents the TMP schedules that was commenced in August 2023 and draft TMP report submitted in March 2025. Through this period, we met with a variety of stakeholders to increase the public engagement and convenience. Each PIC was held in 2 different venues, one in downtown and the one at the Cordington Community Centers. A unique engagement with the students was held to understand their travel challenges and needs. Yeah, next slide, please. So TMP, this slide presents the structure of the TMP. So the TMP recommends recommendations are organized 4 categories. The one is policy and documentations, guidelines, active transportation, new and improved roadways, and localized intersection improvements. Yeah, next slide, please. So this slide provides more details on policy, documentations, and guideline recommendations. So there was already a road classification, but with the coordination of Brighton staff, we were able to revise those road classifications and develop typical roadway cross sections for each of the road classifications, and developed new traffic calming policy, speed limit policy, community safety zone policy, around what implementation guidelines, and there was another guidelines as establishing a designated goods movement network through the town. Yeah, next slide, please. So active transportation was a key. That's part of the cross sections we developed for all type of roadways. So that's incorporation of active transportation is fall into future roadways via through revised cross sections. There was already 3 cross sections. Now we came up with the 6 cross sections that represent each class of roadways. So new cycling facilities to accommodate all levels of cyclists includes various facility types, allowing cyclists to choose based on their level of comfort and skills, range from fully separated multi-use path to on-road conventional bike lanes, new pedestrian sidewalk connections, and infill gaps in existing systems. New pedestrian crossing, that's on Raglan Street at the park entrance. That's on the north side of the park. Yeah, next slide, please. So this slide represents so many roads in there. That's the ultimate road network. We are visioning by 2051. It has existing roadways. They are classified into different categories. And there's some new roadways we have shown in here. So it shows all the recommended improvements, and it represents and the future corridors for the protection to address the future pressures of the growth, planned growth. And growth was based on the draft secondary plan. There was 3 areas identified. One is the northeast, northwest, and southwest of the Brighton, as well as associated mobility needs to support expansion of business park with the good connectivity while reducing impacts to residential land uses. So that's business park is proposed south of Elizabeth Street. That's along John Street and going further south of rail lines. Yeah. Next slide, please. So we also looked into localized intersection improvements, and there was 12 intersections. Those were identified through public information centers, and those were we just going to highlight 2 key intersections in here. So one of which was that's a John Street and Elizabeth Street. So that's going to provide access to business park, and that's we have looked into 2 options in other locations, underpass and overpass. We recommend an overpass at that locations. This would provide uninterrupted crossing during train events for all travel modes, as well as benefiting emergency vehicle and goods movements. The next one is at the bottom. That's a C27. That's at the Bose Road rail lines underpass. That's underpass is very narrow, and it has only a kind of 1 vehicle can pass one, and specifically it creates issues line of sight during bad weathers and in the nighttime. So we are recommending traffic signals to maintain one-way traffic at that location. So next slide, please. So that's last slide. Next step, we're going to issue a notice of study completion from tomorrow and place the final TMP report at the Municipality of Brighton website for 30 days public review ending June 6th, and respond to any comments received. And that's the last slide. And thank you very much for listening to me, and so open for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hussain. Questions of clarification from members of council? Councilor Wilden.
Thank you, Mayor. I noticed in the report there were a lot of use of multi-use paths. I wonder, will those be divided like a roadway by a yellow dotted line, or will they just be an open asphalt surface?
Multi-use path is outside of the roadway, like from edge of pavement. So that's a separate facility.
Mm-hmm. So will there be a line down the middle of it to indicate which direction foot traffic or bike traffic would go? I'm just wondering if this is a 2-way street.
Yes. Yeah.
Should I jump in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Multi-use paths, you can configure them kind of the way you'd like. Generally, the ones we've been working with.
Sure, I'll just get you to speak into the microphone. There are likely people
apologize.
online speaking to us, and introduce yourself for us for the record.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, my name is Nick Palumbo. I'm Altaf's colleague and worked on the project together. To answer that question specifically, yes, you can put a divisional line down the middle with providing direction of use of the multi-use path. Generally, when you come to streets, you may want to add a stop bar, some signage. These are all things that can be discussed, and then you should establish an approach for your community so that all your multi-use paths and your users experience the same thing, regardless which section of the paths they're using. So we would recommend standardizing on that.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from council? So, and gents, I recognize that this whole process began with a discussion around traffic calming and how do we keep people safe and essentially slow people down. And it's obviously in an effort to not throw good money after bad, we've said, okay, let's do a full transportation master plan. But for me, what I want to know is from an existing traffic management perspective, what does this document tell me? I see there's a traffic calming policy that's going to be initiated, traffic speeds but is there specific advice offered here that we'll be able to sink our teeth into at the next budget cycle to assuage people's concerns that people driving too fast or too recklessly, and how we slow those folks down?
Thanks. Yeah, the policies that are developed on traffic calming that allow you to now start to implement and decide how you implement in a consistent fashion these practices. Now, whether they're physical measures that you do or you start with signage or feedback signage, there's a whole series of tools and techniques. The toolkit is there now, and how to apply it consistently. So again, much like my multi-use path comment, as someone is utilizing a road in the community, you want consistency with how things are treated. Going back to the councillor's comment about the signs, how do you do it, and what people see and how things are used should be consistent. Transportation is very much the same thing. So yes, those are there. We've identified a number of hotspots in the community and how to address those. Those will be brought forward by staff through your budget cycles, and they have to prioritize based on your funding capabilities. But all those elements are there, some of which will require a bit more refinement, but for the majority, the rest are really there looking out over the next. Again, the master plan has immediate things to fix, and then it has things you should protect for, because based on your growth projections, you may want to look at, new linkages or whether they're for car, auto, walking, or goods movement.
Thank you. And I do appreciate the evolution of where this went. I just want to make sure the nuts and bolts of why we started down this road, no pun intended, was in fact gives us good policy by which to help keep the people of Brighton safe today. As we know, we need to grow and keep people safe for tomorrow too. So thank you for that.
And I will say that it was a collaborative project with your staff. Your staff was very engaged, provided a lot of meaningful feedback, helped our team get climatized to Brighton specific needs and challenges, because every one of these master plans are different and you have to customize for the community. And I think this one is customized for Brighton.
Thank you for that. Any other comments or questions from members of council? They came all the way from Mississauga, everybody. Come on. Councillor McCausland.
Since you said that it should be subject to Brighton municipality, I just want to know if maybe there was any comparisons to other municipalities for our master transport plan.
We for some of the policy reviews, what we did is we did do a peer review. We went out, we looked at other similar municipalities with similar challenges and tried to cherry pick the best ideas and customize something again, because you can get a master plan that's very generic, or you can get one that's customized. And our goal, again, collaboratively with staff, was to customize something for Brighton that's right sized for you.
Thank you both. Anyone else? Councillor Wright.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there was a comment. I was just trying to find the map again. I can't put my fingers on it, but there was a comment about realigning Presqu'île Parkway. Can you explain what you mean by that? I'm just trying to figure out how that realignment would work.
So there is a jog Lakeshore Road and
Yes.
Presqu'île Parkway, and then the road coming from west is going towards, there is a house in between, right? So when you go up there and come down, right? So then there is issue with you can go straight. The two intersection is very short distance. So we're looking at feasibility. So you can bring that from north portion to south. There is a road allowance there. We also looked into. It can be done. So this way we can have a 4-leg intersection as opposed to having 2 3-leg intersection in a short distance. So this will eliminate lots of conflicts, because you're going to make right and quickly left in there, right? So this way, that's there. So that's something we came up with the feasibility, but again, it's a subject more study to do. to look into. So we look at the GIS plans to see its feasibility in there. So we see it's feasible. Thank you.
Is that, I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I'm in the right location. Is that the Presqu'île Parkway, Lakeshore, Lakehurst
Yes.
intersection?
Yeah,
Okay,
there's a parking lot.
Yeah.
For the
Yeah, I know
south in
where.
there, we have a discussion with the possible.
Okay.
captains.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anyone else? Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
I have a motion moved by Council Wright, seconded by Council Rowley. The council received the update on the Transportation Master Plan Study from Altaf Hussain, Consultant Project Lead, R.V. Anderson Associates Limited. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. There are no citizens' comments this evening. Which brings us to staff reports. The first report is the Transportation Master Plan Final Draft. Director Lennon, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight, sir?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, no additional comments as far as the detail go, just that there's a lot of staff effort and working with Altaf and his staff to really focus the guideline to what our needs are and to focus on active transportation, and of course, traffic calming as well. So nothing additional to that.
Thank you, Director. I have a motion moved by Councilor Butwell, seconded by Councilor Wheeldon, that council direct staff to work with R.V. Anderson Associates Limited on implementing the next steps in the process of finalizing the draft transportation master plan for the municipality of Brighton, including submission to the MECP to allow for the 30-day review period. Is there any discussion? What happens after 30 days? Director Lennon.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, then we get going.
Well, get going is what we're looking for, Mr. Lennon. Thank you very much. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. Oh, next report is reconstruction of Wallace Street and Harbor Street. Manager Gooding, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight, sir?
Through the chair, no, I do not.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councilor Butwell, seconded by Councilor Wheeldon. The council award the PW 2025-02 reconstruction of Wallace Street and Harbor Street contract to Kaiser Excavating Limited in the amount of $2,832,622.12, inclusive of 10% contingency and the expense portion of the HST. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. Our next report is with regard to Prince Edward Street reconstruction project. Manager Gooding, we've read this report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Through the chair, no, I do not.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councilor Butwell, seconded by Councilor Wheeldon, that council receive this report outlining Northumberland County's RFQ 2502 County Road 64 reconstruction tender results, and that a cost share agreement be presented to Brighton Council at a future council meeting for consideration. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. Our next report is the purchase of extrication equipment. Chief Thompson, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Through your worship, no, I do not.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councilor McCausland. Pardon me. I have a motion moved by Councilor Butwell, seconded by Councilor McCausland. The council formally authorize acquiring the extrication equipment purchased for a total of $74,495. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Next report is the CAO ongoing capital projects report and ongoing report. CAO, we've read this report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
No, sir, I do not.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that the CAO ongoing report and capital projects update be received for information. Is there any discussion? Councillor Butwell.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and through you to the CAO. I was reading on our Brighton residents group about our tennis club and the courts. Apparently it was on the verge of being signed, possibly. It just says ongoing negotiations, summer 2025. So are they open and operating without an agreement in place right now?
The deal is that they're open and operating based on previous year's agreement, and that while we negotiate a next year's agreement.
Okay, is there a timeline on that? When?
CAO.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Butwell. At this stage, I think they're relatively close, and actually Director Lennon might have more up-to-date information. The only other item I will add in addition is that they have made a payment this year based on the discussions that we had, but the formalization of the agreement is close. Director Lennon?
Director Lennon?
Through the mayor, we haven't set up a date with the tennis club. We want to do a site inspection with them before we sit down and talk about, the agreement for next year. That hasn't been scheduled, but it is, I'm working with our manager of recreation to set that up very shortly.
Okay, follow up?
Yes.
So Director, I heard two little things there. They're subtle, but they're there. So 2025 is actually not going to be a new agreement. It is fully on last year's terms?
Through the mayor, that's my understanding of the next steps forward, yes.
Okay, so it's not like we were going to look at an agreement and prorate it for this year. We're just
Yeah.
writing this year off completely?
CAO.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Butwell, I think there will be provisions within that agreement that we're implementing for this year. So one of the major things that we need to deal with is the ownership of the lights. So we need to have that transition. And I know the tennis club is committed to having that transition occur. I think they need to finalize as well the specifics around maintenance, and those things will start to happen this year. I think the agreement for next year will be more specific to the cost associated to the hours they receive each year. But the other smaller items within there, I think, are just the ones that they're trying to iron out that will get implemented over the year. I know they're committed to working with the staff, and the staff have been really good with meeting with the tennis club. I think the pickleball club is more or less ready to go. So I think we're much closer. We just want to make sure that they have all of their concerns addressed, but there are things along the way that they will be addressing that will happen this year.
Your microphone.
So when we see the update for summer 2025, does that mean complete and signed, like fully executed agreement during summer, at the end of the summer? I know people go on vacation and their season kind of is well on their way through. Can I get to summer's kind of a long time?
Sure. Through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Butwell, we wanted to ensure that there was sufficient time. In Director Lennon's defense, I started it, he came in, he's taken over, so trying to get caught up and ensure that he has an opportunity to meet with them as well, because I think that's important to try to develop those relationships and make sure that, they're happy with what is happening with somebody new at the table. So we wanted to allow sufficient time to give him an opportunity to become familiar and vice versa. So we didn't want to put it in for May necessarily, but summer starts in June. So I would expect that we will have something well before the end of summer.
All right. Thank you very much.
He has been here 29 days. I mean, come on.
I know.
Anything else with regard to the CAO ongoing report? All those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. Thank you all. And under notices of motion and motions, you see two notices for upcoming meetings to be read as motions. Which brings us to unfinished business with a motion that reads that council directs staff to create a formal agreement between the municipality and service groups for LED signs. Is there a mover? Moved by Councillor McCausland, second, Councillor but well. I will note that one of those service agreements would be Trinity St. Andrews United Church. Given the earlier discussion, I am a member of the Church Council of Trinity St. Andrews United Church. However, given that other service agreements are required, this would be in common with the elector, and so I will continue to participate in the conversation. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. Brings us to bylaws. The first is with regard to the reconstruction of Wallace Street and Harbor Street. It's moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Rowley. The council gives a bylaw. Its first, second, and third reading and finally passes on this date, being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and the clerk to execute an agreement between the corporation of the municipality of Brighton and De Kaiser Excavating Limited for capital project PW 2025-02 reconstruction of Wallace Street and Harbor Street. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That motion's carried. Next bylaw is the assumption of lands, Smith Street and Lisgar, to form a part of a public highway. It's moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wright. The council gives a bylaw, its first, second, and third reading, and finally passes on this date. Being a bylaw to assume lands for public highway purposes at the corner of Smith Street and Lisgar Street and along Smith Street for the corporation of the municipality of Brighton. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? The motion's carried. That brings us to reports and minutes of advisory committees of council and review teams. And the mayor's report. I have provided a report with regard to strong mayor powers. The report speaks for itself, but I did want to note that although it is not my wish to use any of the strong mayor powers, as I believe very much in the council system to which I was elected and very much in this council in particular, as we wade through the details of these new sections under the Municipal Act, there is simply no way to avoid using them for our community. As we receive interpretations from legal and municipal administrative sources, it appears that any delegation of authority that I may provide may also be rescinded at any time. So, and on the advice of our CAO, I will delegate these authorities on a case-by-case basis as needed, or accept responsibility under the legislation for the operational work of others, whichever is deemed most appropriate at the time, and in consultation with our senior staff. Primary example in the legislation is the requirement for the mayor to now bring forward a budget. Under the strong mayor powers, I am required to do so. And since I do not have, nor will I be seeking to have political staff who can aid in drafting a municipal budget, I will by necessity need to staff to provide that guidance in order for staff to bring forward the mayor's budget on or before February 1st. The alternative is to wait for me to be in default of the legislation for council then to begin the process after February 1st, putting us way behind the budgeting 8-ball. So in the coming weeks, you will see that I will be using these powers to provide direction to staff to bring a budget forward so that we may begin the budget deliberation process as we have always done well in advance of February 1st. And what I simply mean by that is I will be providing direction to staff to do what they've always done. But then they have to provide me with a budget that I have to sign off on to give back to staff to present to council as if it was me doing it. But that's the legislation. Both legal seem to say so, and the municipal administrators through various organizations seem to say so. And it just feels weird and wrong, but it's the way it's got to be, because we are children of the province, my friends. Councillor Boutwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, I suppose, to everybody. At the OSAM conference, there was a discussion panel. AMO had several representatives on it, and some other folks who I just don't remember specifically. And they were discussing a particular community that actually the mayor delegated all the powers back through council as a rejection of the strong mayor powers. Was that a consideration of yours?
We did talk about that, but it would appear that the legislation does not permit that mayor to do so. That, in fact, that would be a violation of the act. The mayor has to keep certain, like the requirement to bring a budget, I cannot delegate that to council. That's now under the act. I have to do it. Do I want to do it? No. We have a process that works. But we will continue using the process, and I will sign off on it as if I have brought you a budget. Councillor Wheeldon.
I think also of the many motions, I mean, including ours, that are in essence symbolic protests against a change that in the wrong hands could be significant, but could also be entirely procedural. And so I appreciate the awkward position that you're in that, you know, even the councils that have had strong mayor powers for a couple of years and are now requesting that they be rescinded are still just asking. And there's not really anything that they can do about it. So it is what it is.
Unless and until there's a time when we have a place in our constitution that is separate from section 96, 97 of the constitution, then we will be at the whim of the province. Councillor Botwell.
Maranatha.
There was an instance a few weeks back, I think it was a few weeks back, the mayor of Aurelia, they posted for CAO. They had an applicant that was successful. They gave notice to their job, put their home up for sale, and the mayor unilaterally came in and said, no, thank you. Next door in Quinte West, same thing. So I think that it's very altruistic of you to think in the wrong. I think that there are a lot of people who will be using this while legally, immorally, and unethically. And hopefully our letter actually does something. I don't know. Does someone have an aha moment over this? No, I don't think so. But I don't think anybody around the table here in this room has any intentions. I mean, you have any intention of doing anything nefarious and power seeking and unilateral in that sense. But again, I am somewhat assuaged because in a subsequent term, they have to decide all over again, right? So anyways, just wanted to make that point that it is allowing for, quite honestly, disgusting behavior.
And it worries me about who might now choose to run. And for what reasons, rather than for the betterment of the community, but as a power grab, because they think they can get things done. And we hear that, right? We hear it anyway during municipal elections. I'm going to get things, well, careful.
We have a leader of a particular party who is using the rules to their advantage and is running strictly for power, not for representation.
Councillor Wheeldon.
I do have a question about, since we're talking about the legalities of all of this, is there any indication about how, because there are significant rules about how it's supposed to be used and for what purposes it's supposed to be used. It's supposed to be in support of housing and transit, and yet the mayor of Aurora used it to stop the development of a men's shelter. And the mayor of Windsor used it to shut down the only cross-border transit system in Canada. So it seems like the way that it's being used is not being policed at all. I'm wondering if you have any indication of how it's supposed to work.
You want to field that one? See, nope. I thought I'd try to be a coward. I don't have any examples of who's doing it right and who's doing it wrong. You're right. It's supposed to be in advancement of provincial priorities. I believe that's the quote. And then they give 4 or 5 specific examples, as you note. My hope is that there will be some sort of mechanism for the province to come along and say that wasn't a provincial priority, but I'm not sure that's really the intent. And we'll have to see how it plays out across Ontario. Here in Brighton, my intent is for it to be business as usual. Council will make the decisions. Any decisions I make in terms of directing staff will be brought to council or certainly made aware of. An example will be the budget when I have to direct staff to give me a budget. I mean, I'm not going to bring that to you. I'll let you know I've done it. Expect to see it in a couple of days because I want to get that rolling. So anyone else? Councillor Rowley.
Just a question, and maybe this is for next council meeting regarding the notice of motion. In order to kind of oppose and protest to the province, are we putting ourselves at other risks as far as not following or not bending to the province as far as their priorities, as far as priorities that we see that we need to move forward on?
I would park that for next week and have the conversation then. I think that's more appropriate. Yeah. Anyone else on the report? All those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. I'm not sure I read the motion. Motion's moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that council receive the mayor's report on strong mayor powers for information. We've had the discussion. Is there any further? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion's carried. I've lost the next 2 pages of my agenda. Thank you. Appreciate that. We move on to reports, minutes of statutory committees, boards, and external agencies. The first is the Brighton Library Board meeting minutes of March 26th, with a motion moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Butwell, that council received the March 26, 2025 Brighton Public Library Board meeting minutes as presented. And who are our reps now? Councillor McCausland and Councillor Wright. Anything to advise us on in this?
I would just like to highlight the comment that this year marks the BDA's 10th anniversary. We all know the fabulous things that they're doing, and I think they've got some exciting things that are coming to help celebrate that. So keep an eye out for that.
Thank you for that. Anything else? Good. All those in favor? Oh, go ahead, Councillor Wheeldon.
I just want to note the bit about the library website. I am a little bit biased in this regard, but the new website is excellent. I just want to encourage residents. There are so many digital resources. Almost everything you can do in person in the library, you can also do on the website. And a lot of things you do in person in the library are also facilitated by just signing onto the website, seeing that you can register for events there. You can place holds on books there, all sorts of things that a lot of people don't know about. Worth checking out, brightonlibrary.ca.
Well done. Thank you. Anyone else? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. Next comes from Lower Trent Conservation 2024 Annual Report. It's moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Butwell, that council received the Lower Trent Conservation 2024 Annual Report as information. Councillors Wheeldon or Wright, anything to add here? Councillor Wright.
I just wanted to highlight the fact that conservation authorities, I think it was 2019, had their funding cut by 50%. And that's put more burden on the shoulders of the municipalities who help support the authorities. But that being said, they are still doing really great work. We do a lot of deliberations around the horseshoe for budgets to get the people needed to do the work. And I know we could still use more money and more people to do the work. They are very, very busy and very, very overworked in a lot of ways. So I just wanted to highlight, for all the good things that you're seeing here, there's a lot of really good, hardworking people in behind it.
Thank you for that. Anything further, Councillor Wheeldon?
I want to second all of that and also note that Bob Mullen was our chair for the entire term until recently. He did a fantastic job, and now Councillor Bronny from Trent Hills is the new chair. So welcome, Jean.
Thank you for that. Anything further on the motion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. We have nothing listed in our correspondence, direction items, endorsements, communications, or petitions, which brings us to FYI correspondence. The first comes from Northumberland County for April 28th to May 9th. It's moved by Councillor McCausland, second by Councillor Butwell. The council received the updates from Northumberland County for April 28th to May 9th, 2025 as information. Is there any discussion? Councillor Rowley.
Thank you. Just a comment on something that is maybe not in the report. I know during the last report we received from the county, we were advised of the Administrators Week, but they forgot this week is Clerks, Municipal Clerks Week. So I just want to thank our Clerks Department. I did that earlier today already, but maybe the rest of us can say thank you as well for all the hard work that they do.
Don't think it was missed. Was it missed? You think it was missed? It's not on there?
But you're not municipal. Maybe it's because you're.
Oh, no, they are municipal. Anything further on the motion? All in favor? That's carried. And Northumberland County Annual Development Activity 2024 report. It's moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Butwell, that council received the Northumberland County Annual Development Activity 2024 report as information. Is there any discussion? Councillor Wheeldon.
I just want to point out, it's good to see the numbers of multi-unit residential development rising. Last year, I think it was, Monica Turner put together a report looking at what was in the planning pipeline in Northumberland. And the vast majority of the proposed new builds at that point were all more semi-detached or detached and semi-detached. Very little multi-unit residential and almost none of it for rental. So seeing growth in multi-unit development is very encouraging.
Thank you. Anything further from members of council? All those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. That brings us to question period. Is there anyone in the gallery that has a question with anything that appeared on tonight's agenda? Just push, yeah. There you go.
For the record, Brenda Richardson, 104 Raglan Street. Just asking for some clarification after you said what happens after 30 days. And then you said we get going. What does that actually mean?
Director Lennon, be brief.
Through the mayor. Yeah, it's just the transportation master plan will inform not only our development reviews, but our capital projects moving forward. It gives us a tool to look at what we need to do in our right of ways and for pedestrian movement on all those projects.
So does this mean that nothing will get done until the next budget is approved? Like things that you want to get done, or are there things that you could do now?
Through the mayor, yeah, we're the the transportation master plan is a formal tool that we're going to be using, but we're already implementing some of those, ideas and initiatives into our current capital program. So there are, sidewalk additions and multi-use path additions that we're looking at when we design projects currently. So there are active programs in place.
So specifically, Brenda, I know you're probably most concerned with traffic calming and speed. What is it called? Something policy. The two policies around speeding and traffic calming, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So once we have that policy in place, then staff can start the work of providing council with recommendations on where to move forward and whether it's in this year's budget or next year's budget and what we can do. I would suspect we can do some things this year if we put our minds to it. So
I couldn't believe what the price they put for the crosswalk at Park on Raglan Street.
Nothing surprises me anymore.
Yeah. The other thing too is a lot of the comments. Did you read? I have to know. I have two questions. Did you read? People had said speed bumps. It's always been speed humps that we want, and even our previous fire chief said that they will not interfere with emergency vehicles. And I think that with this plan going 20 years, 25 years down the road, 30 years down the road, if speed humps were implemented on the streets that the mayor has had numerous complaints, Ontario Street, Harbor Street, Cedar Street, Raglan Street, if some of these were implemented in a few of these spots, 20 years down the road, do you not think that if it arised again in a subdivision, and they said, well, hey, it worked 20 years ago when we put them on Ontario Street, let's just do it again, like instead of revisiting another TMP and costing us tons and tons of money.
So again, we look forward to the policies with regard to traffic calming and being able to institute next steps next.
I think you could all agree that if a speed hump saves one child's life or a pedestrian's life, it would be worth it.
Yeah, well, I don't like the children will die argument. I never have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Got it. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who has a question with regard to anything on tonight's agenda? And I don't see anyone on Zoom for that purpose. Brings us to our confirmatory bylaw. The council gives a bylaw. It's moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that council gives a bylaw its first, second, and third reading and finally passes on the state, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the corporation of the municipality of Brighton Council meeting held on May 5th, 2025. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. And a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that the May 5th, 2025 council meeting adjourn at 8:01 p.m. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? That motion's carried. Go Leafs, go.